Born and dead, saved by love, count my blessings from above. Though in darkness, have no fear, light will shine on those who hold them near. They know that sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there will be some pain, but remember that love, yes it will, love will reign. Yeah, love will reign. Yeah, in my heart I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah, yeah. Have a vision, it's clear and plain. People live and laugh, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain, far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain, but remember that love, yes it will. I know. Yeah, love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe sun will shine again, and love, I can hardly wait. In the light of love shine on us, we'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace. There'll be peace, happiness and joy forever. Oh, yeah. One day, someday, pain will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But in the end, love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Said in His word, weeping may endure the night, but love will conquer all. Love will win the fight. So don't be discouraged, don't be dismayed. The darkest hour is just before the day. Hate will be crushed, fear will be gone, love will remain and go on and on. Though the road seems rough, my friend, we know how the journey ends. Oh, yeah. La, da, da, da. La, da, da. La, da, da. Oh, oh. La, da, da, da. Love will reign.
Love will reign. I am excited always to listen to that song. I'm always behind the scenes listening to it and bopping to it. And thank you, Kier Coleman Ward, for allowing us the opportunity to showcase that song. It is such a powerful song. Love Will Reign. If you don't have it, you should go out and purchase it, download it. Kier Coleman Ward, thank you so much. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. And whether you're watching us here live from the Love and Stuff community page or the Marcus R. Holmes page on Facebook or any of the groups that we're attached to on Facebook, Twitch TV, Twitter, YouTube events, I'm grateful that you're here this evening. And I want to continue to talk about the great accomplishments of women as we continue this month in women's history. It is not lost on us that Love and Stuff has 77% women in the community, and that all of the 23% of brothers had a mother, a sister, a wife, a daughter, a grandmother, a TT, a big mama, of which we should celebrate. And I want to share before we go to that, because I think in this day and age, it's so important that you all, women, men as well, but women, you have the sisterhood on lock. Here in the Love and Stuff community, we've been talking to a few people behind the scenes about a special space called Sisters Space, where sisters who may not be in a sorority or who may not have all of your homegirls of sisters or sorors that you have in your corner that you regularly call on, that you just need a soft space to land. Every sister needs that soft space to land. Everybody needs that soft space to land. And so, of course, we've tried to be intentional about men's space, and now we're talking about sister space, and we're talking about inside Love and Stuff, all spaces where people can belong in community. And so thinking that, I ran across this video that I am going to share a part, which I think is the antithesis of sisterhood. Judge me if you do. It is I'm going to call it a racy video to some degree, in that it does have some interesting language in it. And I am not sharing it to cast aspersions, especially on the individual who is the main subject in the video. I am showing it kind of as a juxtaposition from where sisterhood should be and maybe where it is for some people, in the hopes that it will prompt you to say, hey, let me check on my sisters and make sure they have a safe space to have the discussions and vent in ways that are going to be productive and that won't be counterproductive. I am giving full disclosure that I do not own the rights to this video. I'm going to share my screen because I didn't want to download it necessarily. It's a large video, but I'm just doing a clip of the video. I hope I cut the right clip. And I must also, as a disclaimer, mention that I am a unapologetic Christian. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I am doing my best to represent him in the best ways that I can. I certainly fall short as the next person, and sometimes far shorter than the next person. There's a part of the scripture that says, I am chief. As Paul says, I'm the chief sinner. I'm the one that's done real wrong. I admit to that in my life, I have not certainly been perfect, but I think that puts me in a perfect position for the grace and mercy and salvific experience that Christ brings to us. And I invite you, whatever faith that you belong in, to pursue that journey. I want to be clear. I don't force my beliefs on the Love and Stuff community. I believe everybody of all faiths, walks, beliefs, or lack thereof are welcome in Love and Stuff. And you try for yourself what love can and will do. That's been my mantra here in the Love and Stuff community. No, I don't officially myself hold any Bible study. I'm not a licensed minister anyway. And I know there are a lot of people that license themselves. That's another story. But I do believe that there comes a time when you espouse your faith, and maybe you espouse it every day in the way in which you live, which is what I try to do. And again, I've fallen short of that. But I don't try to force it down anybody's throat, hoping that people will see something in my life, in my light, that will glimmer or flicker or be on display and reflect them to Jesus. So I want to make sure you understand that this is not my attempt to cast an aspersion on the church. I would not cast an aspersion on the church. It is not my attempt to downplay any specific minister or any specific denomination or belief or walk of faith. It is, I hope, to get you to thinking about the juxtaposition, the opposing ends of sisterhood. Because I think this clip, and we'll talk about it shortly after I play the clip, is an example of maybe an opportunity for sisterhood to have gone right, and it went wrong, in my opinion. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to play that. Hopefully I will be able to successfully share that with you. And then later we will share some excerpts from some sisterhood in women's history. And I invite you to click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends or followers, YouTube subscribers or connections, 5 of the more popular ones, and invite them to join into the discussion. Along with, I'm making a clarion call tonight to all sisters that are aligned to sororities or aligned to the Masonry, those Eastern Stars. I want you to come on and shout out your sisterhood next Tuesday, as we'll be springing forward back to our new time of 8:30 in the spring and summer. We go back to that time. So we'll be springing forward to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope that you will invite your sorors or your sisters to come and shout it out about the power of womanhood as we continue to celebrate women's history. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully I am able to play this clip. Hope you will be able to see the clip that I am going to play. Let me make sure that I am able to. All right. I think I fixed it.
Now, while you showing, I'm gonna give you my testimony. How many had a week of hell this week? Stand up. It was hell. It was hell. I never knew I could go through so much hell, Trina. It was hell. It was hell. It wasn't just a woman from Atlanta that tried to come in between me and my husband. And she said, and I cough. So, listen, when you hear and you cough, don't cover your mouth. Just let it come out. Let it come out. This is the Holy Ghost dwells here. This is the type of church it is. I understand allergies, but I understand the spiritual realm. Let it come out. Let it come out. You got to release it. Let it come out. And so this woman says she's a prophetess. And she got a word from my husband. I said, no, you ain't got a word for him. You got a word for us. The spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. Natasha Davis. I told you, I'm not your typical first lady. This first lady fight. And if I catch you in the street, I warned you. I warned you. I'm a Brooklyn chick. That'll never change. I'm just an anointed Brooklyn chick. And I'm coming for that ass. No. I laid it down, right? I laid it down. And so y'all, okay, I know I'm gonna be in trouble. I know I'm going to Cleveland, but I had to protect my household. I don't play with my husband. So. You can't say I did. This brother in the back, what's up, son? How you doing? He stood up. He's like, yeah, I like her. She said, you see the realness in me? Nah, I'm real all day. The only thing fake is my weave and my hair, and I'm still good, bald-headed. So it wasn't just that. There were things that happened before she decided to be ignorant. And I said, what is going on? It wasn't just that. It was stuff coming from everywhere. I get in my car and I said, I just want my mama. Have you ever just wanted your mother and she's deceased and you can't get to nobody? Okay. So what I did is I said, I need some answers, because I was already going through, and then that happened. And then after that happened, another. And everything that was connected to me that brought me joy came under attack. I go over to West Virginia and I lay on my mother's grave, because I said, Ma, I'm going to jail. And this time, this ain't jail, I'm going to prison. Do you know there's a difference? I said, Lord, I sat with Aunt Frida. And then my uncle, who I went to go see, he says, he said, how you doing? I was with my cousin Sharon. He said, Sharon, you married yet? Sharon said, no. Then my other uncle, Mitchell, said, are you married? She said, no. He said, oh, how y'all doing with the curse? Hold on. Y'all saw it. Just let me talk. Missy, I said, what curse? He said, you know, a witch put a curse on the women in his family. I can hear Sharon say, yep, yep. This woman tried to come between my great-great-grandparents, and because she was not successful, what she did is she put a curse on the women in my bloodline. I knew that back in the day, there was a man that put a curse on my aunt, Queen Esther, my grandmother, on her daughter, because he wanted to marry her and she was too young. So he gave her something to drink. They went to the hospital, and inside of her stomach were snakes. That in the water, he put snake eggs, really small reptile eggs, and she guzzled it down and got a parasite. See, y'all, I'm just not cute. I know the spiritual things of God. And so all of these things my uncle began to remind me of. And I felt the weight. I felt the weight. I went to the hospital. Look, I said, I'm going to the hospital. I told Fred, I'm going to the hospital, because I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. And everybody, people was coming against me. I had women calling my phone talking about, when we catch you. I mean, it was getting bad. Y'all know what I go through. And I said, I'm going to check myself in, because I be doggone if I have a nervous breakdown. Hold on. I was in a hotel room. Y'all know, you just gonna have to beat this out. I carry this. I carry that. I love them. I love ammo. I love ammo. I like the AK-47. I do. I'm that type of chick, right? So I'm sitting down, and in my room it's going. As I was driving, I saw this thing. It was like a horse. It was golden, and it was going. As I was driving, it was going from lane to lane to lane.
And I'm stopping it there. You can go to YouTube and watch more of it. I wanted to play this clip because she said some key things in there that I think are important. And I think because along women's history, because of the intersectionality, especially of Black women have experienced oppression in an oppressed system, group of systems, in two ways especially, right? One, they are women. And women, of course, we know, didn't always have the right to vote, and still today struggle to get equal pay and equal consideration, right? But also Black, because we know from women's history, there was a white suffragist movement, and a Black one, right? And the white one really, at points, wasn't really speaking loudly about the abolition of slavery, right? It was about white women's rights, and there were some abolitionists and some white women who were allies to Black women, right? But the Black woman has always been under attack and has found some solace and solidarity in sisterhood. And we're going to talk about some of the examples, both from various hues and ethnicities, but we'll talk about a few in women's history. And so I hear in this, there are a lot of things that I've seen a lot of posts, and even Larry Reed Live and other posts or podcast or video cast on this specific woman and video. And you can watch it in its entirety and you may come to some conclusion. I have not met this woman. I do not know this woman. If I were to render a judgment, it would be based on the limited amount of information that I was provided. But from that information, I hear in that, and I don't know if you heard it, her say that she had been under attack, that a lot of things have been happening, and that she wanted her mother. She needed to have a place where she could land away from these attacks, right? That there were attacks on her family line and attacks on her marriage, attacks on her body and her mind, right? And while I don't espouse the venue or the venom as a place and method to share this information, because it could potentially harm people who just came into a worship experience to hear from, experience, or see God. That could take away from them. But clearly, this is a woman who is experiencing some hurt. And as she said in her words, not mine, hell, right? And that's on one end in my mind, because hell is isolation. It is separation from God. It's separation from love. It's separation from hope. And on the other end, I want to say along this continuum is the power of sisterhood, the power of solidarity of sisterhood, which I hope that she has some sisters within her circle who can minister, serve, talk, encourage, coach her, and she be open to that based on relationship. And though it might seem far reaching, that for whatever wrong she feels that this woman whose name she calls out in the video, that there can be some constructive dialogue between them in the name of sisterhood. Now, I have talked to a few folks in the inbox who say that you want to see sisters that don't get along, it's African American sisters. I will not fully agree to that, as being at least my experience. There are some amazing sisterhoods that I've seen and experienced, but I've also seen how some women can be more catty to women and pull women down more than they do any other man. And I don't believe we should be pulling anybody down. But I believe because we've been in systems of oppression, we go to the less dominant, the less strong, the less good-willed, or the less good-intentioned person to try to pass down on, to try to pass down that oppression to. From the house Negro to the field Negro, right? We've seen it. We've seen it from the fair skin in some regards to the darker skin. We've seen it. We've seen it to people who have white collar jobs, to people who have blue collar jobs through classism, right? We've seen where, because people have been a product of an oppressive system, that they oppress others instead of finding ways to bridge the gap in conflict with others and lift others up. And if I could share that to women in this Black History, Women's History Month, where we have 77%, especially in the Love and Stuff community, of women, that I am making a clarion call to you to lift other women up, even when women are in behaviors that you don't think espouse fidelity, right? Or espouse goodwill, or espouses integrity. Whatever your core values are that are important to you, and you meet a woman or engage a woman or experience another sister whose core values do not match those, and that you will find ways to lift that woman up and not tear and bring her down. It's easy to allow our emotions to carry us to words and actions that don't reflect the center of who we profess to be. It is then up to us to practice tools and have ways, especially for those of us who profess love, to have ways to master our emotions, even in the most tumultuous times, so that we aren't necessarily bleeding on somebody else because of what we're going through. And I don't mean in any way to negate or discount or disparage what this woman was experiencing. I think you and I can relate. You can relate to going through hell or having a hellish week. You can relate to betrayal or having the people that you counted on not do right. You can relate to people getting into your relationship or getting between you and your mate. You can relate to gossip and messiness and cattiness and all of those things. But this is a clarion call in Women's History Month to rise above it, because there is so much greatness that every woman stands upon the shoulders of. And it's important that when you are in sacred spaces, and I call them sacred spaces because it's the place where you'll be vulnerable to uncover what's really happening, the sacred spaces with women, with other women, that you engage them with empathy and grace. Now, that isn't to say that we don't get angry. I think the Bible even tells us you can be angry. But I think you got to think about what you're being angry about. Is the anger about the injustice that you're experiencing? Is the anger about someone else's actions without knowing what the actor is? What is the script from which they are delivering the action? I think that's important to note, because a lot of times, if people's intent are to do us ill, sometimes it's the ill will that sits in them that they deliver to us. And of course, you've heard this cliche, hurt people hurt people. And so when someone is delivering some hurt to you, you may have to consider, right, that that person's ill will comes from an ill seat, from a place in them that they haven't fully reconciled, been able to recover from. And in many regards, they may be doing the very bleeding on you that you're now going to transfer to others. I wanted to show that because that is the one end of the sisterhood that we sometimes hear people talking about, that sisters are quick to get on a sister about their man. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I don't know the details. I don't know what this prophet said, except the words of this first lady who said, she said she had a word for my husband. No, you got a word for me. Maybe it was a prophetic word. Maybe it was a word of warning. Whatever the word was, it doesn't appear that the word was yet delivered from the video. And yet, maybe some behind the scenes actions happened that inflamed the emotions of the woman in the video, who said, if I see you in the streets, I'm going to get that. You heard it yourself. Again, I don't think that the venom or venue were the appropriate places. I don't say that we shouldn't be self-aware and come to terms with our emotions. Clearly, she was having an emotional moment. She even said at a point in the video that she went to the hospital because she didn't want to have a nervous breakdown. And so she was in some distress. She said she went and laid on the grave of her mother. And I don't know about you, I adore my mother. And I adored watching her relationship with my sisters. There was nothing like their relationship. Nothing like our relationship to me either. But I understand what it is to want to have, to hold, to talk to confide in your mother, and she's no longer in the earth school. So you can kind of hear this despondency. You can kind of hear this this grappling, the struggle that she's going through to try to do the right thing. She said she went and talked, her words, not mine. She went and laid on the grave and said to her mother, I'm trying not to go to jail. I'm trying not to go to prison, rather. And that there is a difference between prison and jail, which I hope to never know that. But she said she was at a point of breaking. And I can say that we probably all could get to a point of breaking. What I want to raise as a clarion call is that if you feel that you're at a point of breaking and you feel like you're going through hell, in hell, been through hell, that you remember that hell is an isolation and that you got to get out of isolation, not get out to hurt somebody or bleed on somebody, but get out of the isolation. And ladies, especially in this Women's History Month, get into the solidarity of your sisterhood. And if you don't have a sisterhood, you're in the right place, because we've got a sisters space, a sisters circle within the Love and Stuff community of women who will help you through that isolation. Hell is a separation from love. It is a separation from hope. It is a separation from peace. And so if you're living in an existential hell, if you're living in the realities of hell in this world, you're isolated. And we don't want you to stay in that isolation, because a lot of times out of that isolation, out of having thoughts that you have no one to bounce against, you will make the wrong decision. You will use the wrong venom in the wrong venue. And so isolation can be very dangerous. And I wanted to share that as the juxtaposition for the women's history, because tonight we're talking a little bit, or begin a little bit, about sisterhood. And I'll share some historical facts a little bit about sisterhood and some of the sisters in history who have done things to speak to injustices and discrimination of our world. And I hope that you will chime in and drop the names of sisters that you admire or are in sisterhood with, as we're making a clarion call to you for all of the sisters that are a part of sororities and a part of associations for women and a part of Eastern Stars and other organizations, that you will join us next week at 8:30 as we continue women's history and talk about the power of sisterhood in those organized fashions and what we can leverage and learn from those, as this month's theme is about telling their stories. It's about women telling their stories, her story, the history of her story. I'm going to take a quick break. I hope you will click share and tag someone as we go into the history. And I hope you will drop in the comments, what do you think about that clip? Do you think it is something worth watching, or do you have any specific comments about that specific clip, and whether or not you would have handled that differently? It's Love and Stuff. I'm Marcus Holmes. We'll be right back with women's history.
What you wear says something about you, about who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. So here in the Love and Stuff community, we wear the brand that we live, and we live the brand that we wear because we love the brand. It's all about increasing the amount of love in the world and upping our love game. And if that's what you're about, you should wear it too.
If you're about upping your love game, here is the brand for you. And we'll be sharing some of the pieces that you can shop right on the screen by scanning the QR code and shopping some wonderful opportunities and pieces. We're live talking about women's history, and thank you, Moochie for joining us, Lisa Whitmore Davis on Facebook. Thank you, those of you that are joining us on YouTube events and Twitch TV. And I hope you will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, YouTube followers or subscribers, connections on Twitch or Twitter, 5 of the more popular ones, to join us in tonight's women's history discussion. And we just talked about the video of the First Lady. It's maybe viral, close to viral now, of how she issued a threat on camera calling the woman's name. And because the Love and Stuff community is 77% women, I wanted to address it as a juxtaposition, as a counter to the sisterhood that our history has told us about, and the sisterhood that is happening more frequently. And sometimes it's around a man. So we may have to have some discussion about that. But it is a clarion call for women to master those emotions. Realize that if you're going through hell, if you've been in hell, if you are coming out of hell, that hell is isolation. And that isolation means it separates you from love, it separates you from hope, it separates you from faith, and it separates you from the people that can help you find your way back. So if you feel like you're going through hell, you need to have a sister circle of support where you can let those people know that you're going through hell. Do I think that you should do that using the pulpit? No. I think it's not the best use of the venue or using of the venom, because I think it was vitriolic, to say the least, to call another woman's name and say she's trying to come between your husband and you, and that you will, if you see her in the street, you will whoop her ass, which would be Herbert Holmes would say that word straight out. He would say that word straight out. And does she mean it? I believe she does. Is that how she felt? I believe it was. Was it authentic? I believe it was. I just think you get to choose where and how you deliver a message. So if the message is really for an intended person, even if the person doesn't mean you well, you would do well to have a one-on-one conversation with that individual when you have mastered your emotions, when you are self-aware that your trigger is, and you finish that phrase, your trigger is your husband, or your trigger is your mama, your papa, your trigger is your dog, your trigger is your child, your trigger is your brother, your sister, your grandpa, your grandma, your TT, whatever your trigger is, you got to master the emotions around it, so that when you have that crucial conversation about how you feel violated, how you feel betrayed, how you feel attacked, how you feel like you're going through hell, that you are in control, so that you choose the appropriate venue and maybe not choose the venom that you can communicate effectively to the other person. So I wanted to share that. Again, I do not know the first lady of that church. I only saw the same clip that many people have seen. I did not watch the entire 3-hour service. I saw a portion of the clip, and I took her words in the context in which I think she meant them. I'm sure you can go watch it on YouTube, and I think it's on Larry Reed Live. It's a couple of other places. But I thought, because we're in Women's History Month, I understand that the intersectionality of Black women especially is deeply impacted by the marginalization and deep roots, systemic roots of oppression that cause women sometimes to oppress each other, or cause women to strike out of that oppression, feeling and being in a hell-like situation. So I had to share that. And the opposite of that, in some regards, in many regards, I think it's important that we raise up in Women's History Month the power of sisterhood. And I'm calling on you I'm calling on the AKAs, the deltas, the thetas, the sigmas, the everybody, if I'm missing somebody, the zetas, the everybody. I'm calling on the Eastern Stars, and I'm calling on the Negro Women's Associations, all of the women, to come next week at 8:30 and shout out your sorority and talk about what the power of sisterhood means to you and what it means to women's history. And so we want to take a brief look and share some of those historical figures that helped to shape some of women's history. And one of the books that were written about a couple of sisters, I will share some excerpts from that book before we leave. But I want you to remember to join us. Be sure to join us next week, as we will definitely be sharing from the sisterhood, from your stories. You know, this thing this year is about telling the power of telling your stories. And I want to make sure that we give way to telling stories. And just before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about the story of one of our partners here in Love and Stuff. Her name is June Rochelle Eaton. We celebrate her in women's history, and her business is Detroit Couture.
Hi, my name is June Rochelle, and I own Detroit Couture. We are a fashion-forward women's boutique, and we offer friendly sizes from small all the way up to 3X women's sizes, very generously fit, very great quality. I actually have on one of our pieces today. It's called the Cuffed Up. It's in gray, burgundy, and black and olive. And it actually has a lot of stretch and give. So listen, in this time, we try to make sure that, first of all, it's quality and customer service that we offer our clients. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to share with you. So go and visit us at DetroitCouture.com.
Thanks, June. Rochelle Eaton and DetroitCouture.com. She will do you well. And she also has evening gowns, wedding dresses, you name it. Whatever you want to do to be in vogue, in fashion, get in DetroitCouture.com. Thank you, June. And so I want to share from a little bit about women's history, because this concept of sisterhood, right? It's been an empowering force. It's been an empowering force for women throughout history. Okay. And so it's by the coming together and supporting each other and working collectively towards common goals that women have made significant strides in their fight for gender equality and social justice. And so I want to explore a little bit a few of the figures who have impacted the world through sisterhood, focusing on some of the historical figures. And these figures have demonstrated the power of female alliances and have inspired generations of women to pursue their dreams and to change the societal norms. So some of them may be well known and some of them not as known, but we will share. The Grimke sisters. I don't know if you've heard of Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who were born in the early 19th century. They were early advocates for the abolition of slavery and women's rights. These two were daughters of slave-owning families, and the sisters became acutely aware of the injustices of slavery, and they decided to use their privilege to fight against it. And despite facing resistance from their family and from society, the Grimke sisters became popular speakers, and they used their platform to promote abolition and women's rights. Their unwavering support for each other fueled their passion and helped to pave the way for future generations of female activists. Probably more known to you are Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and their lifelong friendship and collaborative partnership significantly advanced the women's suffrage movement in the United States. And there's a lot of talk around and a lot of writings around whether it was white women's suffrage or Black women's suffrage. And I think I invite you to have a healthy dialogue and investigation of that. But together, they founded the National Women's Suffrage Association in 1869, which later merged with another organization to become the National American Women's Suffrage Movement, or Association rather. Despite facing numerous setbacks, both Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, their dedication to each other and their shared vision of women's rights led to the eventual passage of the 19th Amendment, granting the women the right to vote. And we know that was a momentous time, but there are still inequities, right? Still pay inequities and opportunity inequities that call for women to stand on their shoulders and stand forward and vote and fight, right? The Pankhurst family is another family I wanted to share with you. Emmeline Pankhurst, alongside her daughters, Christabel, Sylvia, Adela, they played a crucial role in the British suffragist movement. As the founder of the Women's Social and Political Union, Emmeline advocated for military tactics to demand women's suffrage, leading to many high-profile protests and arrests. Her daughters, particularly Christabel and Sylvia, were heavily involved in the movement, often joining their mother in protests and acts of civil disobedience. This family's unwavering commitment to women's rights ultimately helped secure voting rights for women in the UK. I want to tell you a little bit about the Delaney sisters, and I'm going to read some excerpts from their book. The Delaney sisters, Sarah, known as Sadie Delaney, and A. Elizabeth, known as Bessie Delaney, were African American sisters who became trailblazers in the fields of education and civil rights. Both sisters pursued higher education during a time when it was rare for a Black woman, with Sadie becoming the first African American woman to teach domestic science in a New York City high school, and Bessie becoming the second African American woman to practice dentistry in the state of New York. In their later years, the sisters co authored the book Having Our Say, the Delaney Sisters' First 100 Years, which details their experience and family history, providing a valuable perspective on the African American experience during the 20th century. So I'm going to read some excerpts from that book. And just before we do, I again am just thankful and grateful for the partnerships that we have within the Love and Stuff community. Another partnership as we celebrate women's history is Christina the Money Coach. Christina Smith is the owner of Powerful Money Tools, LLC, and she has helped so many people repair their credit, get their financial freedom within the Love and Stuff community. We're grateful to have her as a part of our Inside of Love and Stuff community, where you can join later, and we'll tell you a little bit about that. But Christina is really about women's empowerment, helping the sisters get on their feet and get their dreams going. It's harder to get your dreams going if your finances aren't together. And if you need any help in that area, Christina, the Money Coach, is who you want to consider. And here's a little bit about Christina.
Welcome to Powerful Money Tools, LLC. At Powerful Money Tools, we are here to prepare for your future. We want to talk about financial freedom. Financial freedom is budgeting, credit building, and also financial education. So once again, welcome to Powerful Money Tools, LLC. We can't wait to help you in your financial future.
That's Christina, the Money Coach, and she is correct. She can't wait to help you. She has been excited about helping people repair their credit, helping people get living wills and trust, helping people get their financial house in order so that you can be all that you've been called to be. Ladies and gentlemen, but ladies especially, if you want to get your financial ducks in a row, contact Christina, the Money Coach. She's available here on Facebook, also on YouTube, and she's Powerful Money Tools, LLC. Thank you, Christina. We can't wait for you to help all of those who need to get their financial freedom intact. I want to share with you from the book, Having Our Say, the Delaney Sisters' First 100 Years. And I'm going to share a little of the preface and then go into a little bit about each of the sisters. When I met Sadie Delaney and her sister Bessie in September 1991, I was on assignment for the New York Times, hoping to write a story on these two elderly but reclusive sisters who had just celebrated their 102nd and 103rd birthdays. In my hand, I carried a letter written by their neighbor in Mount Vernon, New York, who had extended an invitation to come by and meet them. The Delaney sisters had no phone, so I wasn't entirely sure they knew I was coming. I was prepared to be turned away. I knocked on the door. I waited and raised my hand to knock again when suddenly the door swung open. The woman who answered, with her head held high, her eyes intense and penetrating, extended her hand in formal greeting. "I am Dr. Delaney," she said elegantly. She ushered me into the house, and from across the room, another elderly woman said sweetly, "Please come in, child. Won't you sit down?" This was the elder sister, Sadie Delaney. I must have hesitated for a moment. "Go on, sit down," Bessie urged. "Sit down as long as you like. We won't charge you rent." Then they both laughed uproariously at this little joke. Over the next 3 hours, I was charmed by their vivaciousness and playfulness. They seemed to have conquered old age, or to have come as close as anyone ever will. It was clear that they had found the source of their vitality in each other's company and in the tales they told and retold each other from a century of living. When my piece was published, the reaction was swift. Readers fell in love with the Delaney sisters. There were letters from all over the country, demands for television interviews, requests for guest appearances at schools and at political functions. The sisters declined nearly all of the invitations. Among those who read my articles were editors at Condasha America who felt that the Delaney stories deserved to be a book. At first, the sisters demurred, unsure that their life stories were sufficiently interesting or significant. But they came to see that by recording their story, they were participating in a tradition as old as time, the passing of knowledge and experience from one generation to the next. The daughters of a man born into slavery and a mother of mixed racial parentage who were born free, the sisters recall what it meant to be colored children in the late 19th century in the South. Their early lives were sheltered. They grew up on a college campus, St. Augustine School in Raleigh, North Carolina, where their father was an Episcopal priest and vice principal. Despite their privileged status, they suffered the insult of Jim Crow when it first became law. After years of teaching in the rural South to raise money, the Delaney sisters joined the great wave of Black Americans who headed north in search of opportunity during the early part of that century. Bessie became only the second woman licensed to practice dentistry in New York, and Sadie was the first Black person to ever teach domestic science on the high school level in New York public schools. So I want to tell you a little bit about Sadie and Bessie, reading from one of the chapters, sharing just an excerpt from that chapter. And it is entitled Chapter 5, Our Papa's People. On February 5th, 1858, our Papa, Henry Beard Delaney, was born into slavery on a plantation owned by the Mock family in St. Mary's, Georgia, on the coast near the Florida border. He was just a little bitty fellow, 7 years old when the surrender came in 1865. The surrender is the way Papa always referred to the end of the Civil War, when General Robert E. Lee surrendered to the Union at Appomattox Courthouse. We used to ask Papa, "What do you remember about being a slave?" Well, like a lot of former slaves, he didn't say much about it. Everybody had their own tale of woe, and for most people, things had been so bad they didn't want to think about it, let alone talk about it. You didn't sit and cry in your soup, honey. You just went on. Well, we persisted, and finally, Papa told us of the day his people were freed. He remembered being in the kitchen and wearing a little apron, which little slave boys wore in those days. It had one button at the top, at the back of the neck, and the ends were loose. And when the news of the surrender came, he said he ran about the house with that little apron fluttering behind him, yelling, "Freedom, freedom, I am free, I am free." Of course, being a little child, he did not know what this meant. Back in slavery days, things were bad, but in some ways, getting your freedom could be worse. To a small boy, it meant leaving the only home you ever knew. Now, Papa's family were house niggers, and the Mocks had been very good to them. We remember our Papa saying the Mocks were as good as any people you could find anywhere in this world. That's a generous thing to say about the people who owned him, wouldn't you say? But he said that not all white people who owned slaves were evil. There was a great variety in the way white people treated Negroes. That's what Papa told us about slavery days, and it's true now. Mrs. Mock thought a heap of Papa's mama, Sarah, who was born on the plantation on the 5th of January, 1814. Why, Mrs. Mock had even let Sarah have a wedding ceremony in the front parlor. It was a double wedding. Sarah's twin sister, Mary, married at the same time. Oh, it was said to be a big affair. Of course, these weren't legal marriages, since it was against the law for slaves to get married. But it was a ceremony, and Sarah was joined in matrimony to Thomas Sterling Delaney. This was about 1831. Their first child, Julia, was born on the 1st of December, 1832. Altogether, Sarah and Thomas had 11 children, and our Papa was the youngest. Thomas was a handsome man. To what extent he was white, we do not know. We were told he was mostly Negro. The family Bible says he was born in St. Mary's, and the date of his birth was the 15th of March, 1810. Sarah was obviously part Indian. She had long, straight black hair, but otherwise looked just like a Negro. When we were children, we always giggled about her photograph because her hair looked so peculiar to us. We never knew Papa's parents because they died when we were tiny. Why, Sarah died on the 11th of September, 1891, just a few days after Bessie was born. Thomas was part Scottish, which is where the Delaney name came from. We have been asked over the years if we are any kin to Martin Delaney, the Negro Army officer during the Civil War. We are quite certain we are not, having discussed it with a historian once. People assume that we are related to him because we spell Delaney the same way. A few of our relatives spell our name with an E as in Delaney, which is really an Irish spelling. Others spell it Delaney with a capital L in the middle. Papa insisted we spell it Delaney without the E. He said that's the way my father spelled it, and that's good enough for me. Now, of course, we haven't any idea what our original African names was, but it doesn't worry us none. We have been Delaneys for a long time, and the name belongs to us as far as we're concerned. The Mocks let the Delaneys keep their name and even broke Georgia law by teaching Papa and his brother and sisters to read and write. Maybe the Mocks, thought that Delaneys would leave after the surrender, but they did, and they each didn't have but the shirt on their backs. They crossed the St. Mary's River and set down roots in Fernandina Beach, Florida. Papa told us each that day they would wash their only shirt in the river and hang it up to dry, then put it on again after it had dried in the sun. Those were hard times after slavery days. Much of the South was scarred by the Civil War, and there wasn't much food or supplies among the whites, let alone the Negroes. Most of the slaves, when they were freed, wandered about the countryside like shell-shocked soldiers. Papa said everywhere you went, it seemed you saw Negroes asking, begging for something. He said it was a pitiful sight. He said those folks didn't know how to be free. It was like if you took the hen away, what do you think would happen to those chicks? Most of the slaves became sharecroppers, living off the land owned by whites. The whites fixed it so those Negroes could never get ahead. Wasn't much better than slavery. The whites were able to cheat the Negroes because very few Negroes could read or write or do arithmetic. And even if the Negroes knew they were being cheated, there wasn't a thing that they could do about it. And so this gives you some of the insight of their early years. And as I hurry to a close, I am going to go in part 5, the Harlem town of Sadie and Bessie. But it gives you a sense of their thoughts about freedom and their thoughts about being privileged, maybe considered house niggers, for lack of a better term. Sadie and Bessie, we made our first trip to the New York City with our mama in 1915. We took the train from Raleigh to Norfolk, then took a boat to New York, which cost us $8 each. The boat left Norfolk in the afternoon. We slept on cots on the open deck and woke up just as the boats pulled into New York Harbor. Somebody asked us if we remembered seeing the Statue of Liberty as we pulled into the harbor. Tell you the truth, we didn't care too much about it. The Statue of Liberty was important to white European immigrants. It was a symbol to them. We knew it wasn't meant for us. And there were so many different kinds of people from all over the world. In North Carolina, there were white people, Negroes, and Indians. That was it. In New York, there were Irish people, German people, Jewish people, Italian people, and so on. So many different white people. And they ate different foods. And you could smell strange things cooking when you walked by people's apartments in the nice weather when their windows were open. And you'd hear these voices speaking languages. Well, you could only guess what exotic place they were from and what they were saying. Now, it was awfully hard to find an apartment in Harlem then. There were a lot of colored folks coming to Harlem at the same time looking for a new life. So looking for an apartment was like a full-time job in itself. You'd have to go from one place to the next, and the super would say, there's no room now, but come back next month and see. And you'd come back, but someone had always beat you to the punch. So it was common for people to take in boarders. Our brothers were boarding over at the Williamses' house, and we Delaney girls boarded with the Scotts. The Scotts were a West Indian family, rather well-to-do. Mr. Scott worked in a white bank, which was absolutely unheard of for a colored man in those days, but he was very light. Like many West Indians, Mrs. Scott was a follower of Marcus Garvey. She would drop whatever she was doing and run off to his parades and meetings. A lot and the American Negroes thought they were better than the West Indian Negroes. One thing about West Indian Negroes at that time was that those were the ones who came to Harlem to go to school, and they were a better class than the ones who came to get jobs. There was some silly tension. Mrs. Scott had taken us in as a favor to Mrs. Russell, who lived across the street and ran a boarding house, only it was full. Mrs. Russell had been a pupil of Mama's, but Mr. Scott really didn't want us boarders living in his home. And
Welcome to
and
Powerful Money Tools LLC. At Powerful
I
Money
apologize.
Tools, we are
I apologize for that. These sisters stuck together through thick and thin, through freedom or quasi-freedom, which some may have called it during that time, but they stayed together. And I stopped there because as we think about women and as we think about women's history, the power of sisterhood helps to undergird resilience in a way that is almost both innumerable as we tell these stories and really unexplainable as it relates to capturing the right words or sentiment about the power of sisterhood. And I wanted to show that stark difference between what you saw at the beginning, the sister, the woman, the first lady, who, because of the hell she was going through, appears to emote and vent against another sister. She chooses the venue and the venom and the vitriol to share her vulnerability. And I wanted to contrast that with these sisters that we've heard about, who through hard times and hell, who through slavery and Jim Crow decided that they would stick together. I think the choice is every woman's, every sister, to stand on the shoulders of women like the Grimke sisters and the Delaney sisters, of women like Fannie Lou Hamer and Coretta Scott and Rosa Parks, of all of the women, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, to unite, even though you're going through hellish times, in solidarity for success. And I believe those are the strong, indomitable spirits and strong shoulders that we all stand on as we celebrate women's history. And so I'm calling you to join us in this month's celebration. Next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are springing forward to our spring and summertime, which is 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm calling for the AKAs and the deltas and the gammas, the sigmas, the thetas, the everybody, the Eastern Stars, the women of all of organizations to come and share about the power of sisterhood. There's someone that maybe isn't connected to an organization, who, like the woman at the beginning of the video, wished that she could have her mother who is deceased, who went to lay on her mother's grave to petition her mother for help, who went to the hospital because she felt like she was having a nervous breakdown. And out of that experience, though good or not good, she chose Venom and a venue that showed her vulnerability in a way that might bring strong criticism and critique. I hope for her, and I hope for you as women, that you will hearken unto the stories of women whose resiliency, whose emotional agility have helped to shape not only their sisterhood and bonds, but shaped history and our world as they fought and stood against injustices, oppression, and discrimination. And if in case you feel like you are alone and you are by yourself in hell, I call to you to come out of that hell and come into a space of safety with sisters in solidarity who can help you find success. You don't have to stay in hell alone. I want to share before we go, as I indicated, there are opportunities, definitely opportunities for you to live the brand, wear the brand, love the brand that we have here in the Love and Stuff community. And I invite you to join us in doing that. And just as we go to sharing that brand, I want to share with you another opportunity that I think will help you along your journey.
Marcus, I want to congratulate you on Love and Stuff. I really want you to know that staying grateful and understanding the power of what it is to be operating out of a space of abundance and gratitude is the most important part of every journey of every day. So Marcus June, congratulations on this book. It's on Amazon now. That makes me so proud of you and your family and me and my family, and every single person around us gets it. So good on you for bringing it into the hands and the laps and the Kindles of all the people. Okay, so we're gonna check it out. Can't wait to learn more.
Thank you so much, MJ from Shies of Sunset. And here is the book, The Gratefulness Journey Every Day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life? It is available now on Amazon. And I hope that if you are seeking to join a journey that impacts your life better every day, you should join the gratefulness journey every day. It is worth the investment in yourself to build a habit that is going to bring you a life filled with more gratefulness. Make your life grateful living, where you take an inventory of everything and everybody that you have left. And I invite you to get that book as well. So I am going to share a few of the items that you can purchase. Of course, we have our signature Love and Stuff t-shirt that is available. Now here it is in this indigo blue, but you can get the this in any color, and it's available now by scanning that QR code. Thank you. Some of you are doing that right now, and I hope that you will find your color and size, and just about any color is there as well. We also on the t-shirt, as we're going into the spring, hopefully we'll be in the spring weather soon, the Gratefulness Journey Every Day short sleeve t-shirt is available, and that's in a heather blue there. It's available now. You can scan it and get it. It's just under $21. It's available. It will be shipped directly to your door, and we'd love for you to have that as well. We also still have the crew neck sweatshirt for the Gratefulness Journey Every Day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life? And that's again, that's in a hunter green, not quite a hunter green, but it is a green, and it's under $21. So we want to encourage you to do that. Also in the Gratefulness Journey, for those of you that work out and you want the long sleeve moisture absorbing shirt, this has been a very popular shirt. It is available in many colors, and you can get your workout on absolutely with that. And in the Gratefulness Journey catalog of brand, we also have the hooded sweatshirt. If you still want to keep a little warm and have that sweatshirt, it's available to you in many colors and available just under $30 there. Also in that performance V-neck, ladies love this, especially in the black with the red on. Let love spread like a pandemic. A lot of people love this fitted shirt. It's a long sleeve performance V-neck shirt, and ladies look fantastic in it. I hope that you will enjoy it. Just under $22. Of course, we have this is My Love is Valentine's. This is from our Valentine's edition. I'm not sure you can clearly see it here. I think we need to put that in black. But it is Valentine is more than a day. It's a lifestyle. And if you believe that, that is one of the things you should wear. Our signature season brand is My Love is Front and Center. And this t-shirt comes in multiple colors. It's always red as the logo for it, but it comes in multiple colors, and it's just under $17. We believe that if you really want to experience more love in your life, you've got to have your love front and center. You can't hide your love. You can't be hidden. You need to be found living your authentic self, being the best of yourself, and others will take notice of your love being front and center. We also still have the front and center hoodie. They're pictured again in the white. It is available. If you are interested in it there, it's available. As well as the Love is Front and Center in the black. The sweatshirt just under $22. That's my favorite mix of those. Having it in the black, your love is front and center. And what a conversation piece, ladies, it is, and gentlemen, it is, when you're out and about and you say, my love is front and center. What does that mean? I'm available for the right love to come at the right time for the right reason. And if you open up your heart and your word, your language, your mantra, your actions will follow that when your love is front and center. For those of you that are with us on the self-care journey, you will like this limited edition, the six-pack revealed, we call it. We say, the caption, you can't read it there, but it says, I have a six-pack, I just haven't unwrapped it yet, right? And so if you are on our self-care journey, we're in the month of March, and we're marching into exercise and physical fitness. And so you want to go to the Love and Stuff page, click under groups and join inside of Love and Stuff. We've got Corey from Be Fit. He was one of the singles that was on Ready for Love. He's a part of our Inside Love and Stuff, and he's given us a 6-minute ab workout. You want to get that ab workout, but it's only available if you join the group, and then you will be able to unpackage your six-pack, right? It also comes in other colors. there it is there. Again, it's just under $23 and available for you to take home or have shipped to you at home. We can't forget about our sports, fellas. We love sports. And if you want to join us this Saturday, March 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Kamal Williams and Felix Holmes make up the team of Sports Talk with Kamal and Felix. These fellas love sports. They're hilariously funny. Their sports talk group is growing, about 450 people in that group, and we're excited for them. We want to see them grow. We want you to support them with the hoodie that's there, and they have the sweatshirt. Soon they will have, ladies, the t-shirts and the t-shirt dress that we had Christina model for us. Those will be available. These are, though, their signature items. I want to make you aware that if you are looking for coaching as the HR Passion Guy, it would be my pleasure to have you sign up for coaching, and you'll learn a little bit more about coaching. This particular you coaching series is all about you. It's for people who want to go to the next level in their life, be it in your career, be it in your relationship. There are tools that are available, be it as an entrepreneur. We want to help you become the best, and that's why we named it You. It's about bringing your authentic self forward, being you, and getting rewarded for being you. So that is available as well. And then if you're in the Lenten season or you're in Marching to Get Fit and you're interested in eating to live and not living to eat, then you want to get this Live It to Love ebook. This Live It to Love ebook is a 31-day plan, and it's largely a vegetarian diet. Okay. It takes a number of things out of your diet over the course of 31 days, including alcohol. And it gives you some specific things that you can use in any group of the meals. You get a choice of chicken or fish as a part of this. And listen, people have been utilizing this. At least one person within our 11 Step community took it to her doctor, which I advise that you do. And her doctor said, this is great for you. And she has utilized this along with other measures to be able to get to a baseline so that she could have needed surgeries done. And she's lost 173 pounds. Not exclusively from this, but this was a part of that journey. And so the Live It to Love ebook is available. You can scan it and get it right now. It'll be downloaded to wherever email address you list there. And finally, the self-care ebook. This is the 12-month journey that starts every January for people who want to take better care of themselves. You are rocking caregiving of your parents, of your children, of your spouse, of your siblings, of your nephew or niece who you have custody of. You're taking care of your coworkers. You're taking care of the employees on your team. But who's taking care of you? If you keep pouring, you're going to have an empty cup unless you refuel, refill, and recharge. The self-care journey is about you. It is about your love and your gratefulness for being here, for the great quintessential love planting you in this earth school. And it's your love and your gratefulness speaking to your worthiness. Do you know that you are worthy of care? You are worthy of a life of care that's not just an escape to the spa or an escape to a pedicure. There are 12 different focuses, different foci each month. As I mentioned, this is March, and we're marching into fitness and physical exercise. We're all at different places. Some people are going to be able to do that 6-minute ab workout in 6 minutes. Some of us, it's going to take us 60 minutes the first time, right? But with
Marcus, I want to congratulate you.
all right, somehow we had a connection issue there. Let's close that out. All right. That self-care just got to the top of us. And so all of these are available. And of course, if you want to support all of these, with the exception of the ebook, the other items, 35% of the net proceeds go to award, helping those in need, scholarship efforts, disaster relief, whatever ways that we can increase the amount of love in the world. If you want to join the Sports Talk group, you can scan that and you can join the Sports Talk group. There's 426 people, I believe, and growing. And they'd love to have you a part of the Sports Talk group. They have a bi-weekly show that they do, but Kamal is working that group every day, sharing polls, sharing sports information. Ladies, it's a great place if you want to learn about sports, so that when you are attending events with your guy, that you can speak intelligently to the sports. Kamal and Felix are your folks, and you want to definitely join the Sports Talk group. And if you just want to support the stream, we would love to have your support here in the Love and Stuff community, so that we can continue to bring all of the love shows, continue to bring to you Love and Stuff on Tuesday evenings, which springs forward next week to 8:30 back at our regular time. On Wednesdays at 6 p.m. with Darren Williams and Love in the Scriptures. Every other Saturday, including this one coming on the 18th, with Sports Talk with Kamal and Felix, and the Gratefulness Journey every day, and Passion Fridays as we go along the journey. We'd love to have you. Just before we close, I want to make sure that you hear our clarion call as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, that next week we're calling Eastern School, sister from Masonic or Masonry order, all sisters. We want you to put your sister gear on and come and share with us what it means to you to be in sisterhood, and what that means to the spirit of telling your stories as we celebrate Women's History Month. It's not lost on us in Love and Stuff that we have 77% women, and all of you are connected to a powerful, dynamic history. We celebrate you and it, and we hope that you will join us again next week as we continue to celebrate. To join us. The more
Yeah.